Hello and welcome. I am Laura Sherrill from Balance Bombshells, and I'm here today with Sam from A Happy Mind. And we are on today's segment of the Bombshell Diaries. So we're going to dive into learning more about Sam, her health journey, and everything that she does to live a healthy and active life. So I'm going to kick it over to you, Sam, to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about what you do.
Hello, and thanks so much for having me. So yeah, I'm Sam from A Happy Mind, and I'm an anxiety coach for entrepreneurs. And when I first started my business, it was for any women experiencing and struggling with anxiety. And over time, through having my own business and being online, the people that I support most now and coach tend to have their own businesses or want to start their own business or want to be online, but anxiety really holds them back. So that's predominantly the biggest thing that I do, help women to overcome anxiety, manage anxiety in a healthy way and a natural way so that they can thrive in their life. The big selling point for why people connect with me, I think, is I don't talk about the science and the psychology of your brain and anxiety. I very much go down the holistic, natural, real approach, everyday life. So along the road, I've written a book, I've got my own podcast, and I have my own Facebook group. But ultimately, any woman that comes into contact with me, my main passion and purpose is to allow them to realize anxiety isn't something that you have to fear and run away from and feel like it's controlling your life in a negative way. Anxiety is something that we can use as a positive to move ourselves forward and actually grow. So that is a little bit about me.
I absolutely love that. And just using, our own like thoughts as power and just like using it to motivate us. Do you want to share at all of like how you got into this work or any sort of your personal health journey that might have led you to where you are now?
Yeah, so I have a very colourful past, but I will try and keep it succinct. So my mum and dad separated when I was 7. I've got a twin brother, and their relationship was really, really difficult from 7 to 8. We saw them, arguing. There was a lot of conflict, a lot of unhappiness, and not in any way that they were being bad parents, but their relationship was really hard, and they did really struggle to manage that and co-parent. And obviously as a young child, I very much wanted to protect my brother. So from a really young age, I was aware of what conflict looked like, and I was also aware of how much responsibility I had on my shoulders. Then my mum left the family home and we stayed with our dad, and he had myself and my brother really later on in life, so he cherished us more than most parents would cherish a child. He had two in one hit, and he had a boy and a girl. So we were literally his whole world come at once. So he very much did idolize us, and he looked after us. He was very strict, but we were very much loved by him, and we felt that love. And when we were 14, he had to go in for a routine operation to have gallstones removed. And the operation went wrong, and he didn't come home. So he spent 3 weeks in hospital, and he passed away. So that was really difficult for us, obviously, as teenagers. We lived with him. He was our main source of love. That was a really, it's so hard even now to try and express that situation and that struggle. And then our mum had to move back into our family home, and the dynamic changed, and everything was different. And when I was 20, my mum moved to Jamaica, selling our family home. So my twin brother then moved to Scotland to be with his now wife and family. So by the age of 21, I'd had one parent die, another parent leave, my only other family member leave, and was left on my own. I didn't have family Christmases or birthdays. I had to work as well as finish my degree. So abandonment was massive in my life, and kind of feeling of rejection and not being good enough, and being so young and having to fend for myself, that created a lot of anxiety for me, a lot of insecurities, a lot of unhappiness, if I'm honest. I just felt, on the outside, I was very, very bubbly and outgoing, but underneath it, I just felt so deeply unlovable and unsatisfied and just so unhappy. And it was a really, really hard lesson to learn. And obviously, as a young adult, you had boyfriends and you went out clubbing and drinking, and adding alcohol and relationships into all of that just made it so much worse. I really struggled to manage my emotions for a really long time, and I struggled it with my relationships and who to be with and how to make that work. And when I met my now husband, I met him when I was 20, and we were on and off for a while, and that was a really horrible situation. And then we finally got back together when I was 22, and my anxiety by that point was just totally uncontrollable. I could not manage myself at all. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't think about anything else. I would have panic attacks all the time, because finally now someone had come back into my life, and what if they left it again? You know, what if I was back in the same boat I'd been in for the rest of my life? So anxiety was massive. Only when I decided, I just got to that, I hit a real low. It was, I was unable to manage myself and my emotions. I was out of control. And I finally said, I just can't keep doing this. I'm a good person and I'm constantly tormenting myself. I'm struggling to just function, and I just could not shift any of these feelings. So I decided that I wanted to work on myself and make changes. And now I look back, and it's like I was a completely different person. And I'm not in any way ashamed of my story or my struggle. And I would tell anybody, but I'm so proud of myself that now I'm, I'm just happy. There's no other word. I just feel normal. And I really value that. I'm so appreciative of not having this knot in my belly all the time, this worry in my head all the time, this stressful, anxious feeling all the time. And I'm just really grateful for being able to live a life that makes me happy. So I decided that I wanted to start telling other women how to do this too and give them solutions. So I created a happy mind, and the rest is history, really.
I absolutely love that. And thank you so much for sharing so many parts of your life that I know are so deeply personal and probably hard to talk about. And it's just, I think you hit the nail on the head too for a lot of ambitious women, where like outwardly we feel like we're one person and we're bubbly, and it's certainly a part of us, but internally we just feel completely overwhelmed. Just the stress of life is mounting, you know, certain experiences that we've gone through that we're trying to work through, and like, how do you do that? And it's interesting that you kind of talk about your parents in that sense too, because my parents separated when I was 14, and I actually became financially independent. Like my father pulled all financial support, and he actually got custody of us, and I actually didn't agree with it. So I actually moved out. And so like all of a sudden my brothers with my dad, my mom and my sister were with my grandmother, and then I was living with an uncle. And so it's just like, how do you then deal with that while you're still trying to be like an adolescent and a kid? Like it's almost as if you just grew up overnight, and like, how do you then deal with that? But do you think with all of that, like everything you've gone through, and then looking back from where you are now, that it helped shape not only who you are now, but then what you're able to contribute to the world?
Yeah, 100%. It took me a long time to get to this point, but and it does, even when I say it out loud, I can feel the emotion bubbling, just because it took such a long time to get to this point. But I'm so proud of my journey. And on my wedding day, I remember it was really emotional, obviously, not to have my dad there. And all the speeches were all aimed around how much he loved me. And, it did have this kind of sadness, and people did miss him. And after dinner, I was so compelled to stand up. So I did. And I said, look, I know he's not here now, but I wouldn't change it for the world. I wouldn't swap the time I had with him for a dad that was still with me now. I wouldn't change that. And I'm so glad that I had him to instill this in me. So I definitely, for all of the pain and the heartache and the just oh, the tears that I've cried, I would never swap any of it, because it's made me so much of a better person, and I'm so compassionate for others, and I have a level of empathy that I would never have if I hadn't been and lived this life. So I'm really grateful, and it does take a long time to get to that point, but I'm really grateful for the cards that I were dealt, because if I wasn't dealt those cards, I definitely wouldn't be the person I am now. And people always say, they give the toughest lessons to the strongest people. And at the time you think, that is just complete rubbish. That's not true. Like, I just want a normal life. I don't want all of this. But when I think about it now, I do feel a level of like invincibility. I just, I do have that. I feel like, I've been through so many things. If I can get through all of that, I
Right.
can get through anything. So it does give you that bulletproof vest. I do feel that level of strength that I definitely wouldn't have felt if I didn't experience so much of this so early on. So I do agree. It definitely has made me who I am.
Hmm. And it's just, I mean, even me being in contact with you, like I can just feel your presence. And it's beautiful. Like you definitely have like this sunshine aura around you that I think people just gravitate towards. And to be able to create your life essentially around that and be able to bring that to other women so that they can experience it as well, I think it's just so beautiful because, we live in such an interesting time where there's just so many things happening all at once. And it's almost as if we don't have time to digest things, or we feel like we can't give ourselves space, or we don't give ourselves permission to feel, essentially. And so we're just constantly looking for something else to either validate ourselves or take us out of the present moment because we don't want to feel that pain. And so I loved hearing you talk about just allowing yourself to cry and allowing yourself to feel that pain, because when we feel it, it's on the other side that we're going to be able to find that sunshine, or to be able to find that happy mind, and then use that as like your backpack or your armor, essentially, to know that like if you can get through that, like you can do anything. And so I just feel like you have such a powerful story and message, and it's just, yeah, I love hearing that. So what do you do now, like in terms of like making sure that your mind, your body is in like tip-top shape? Like what do you do now to live like a happy and healthy lifestyle?
A few things. I have a few non-negotiables. So running a business, obviously, my first year of a happy mind, I was still a full-time teacher. So I was working 10-hour days at school and coming home and trying to start a business, and obviously it was really, really difficult. But now I love it because I can reap the benefits, and I love that, the business is established and I can do all of these amazing things. But last year definitely taught me the importance of self-care more than ever before, because essentially I had two full-time jobs, and one of them was really high pressured. In teaching, I had a really big responsibility. I was in charge of 218-year-olds going to uni plus teaching. It was difficult. And then to come home and run a happy mind, there's no way I could have been my happy self if I wasn't looking after myself. So one big non-negotiable, and I have done this since I was a kid, 10, if not younger, actually forever. There's a picture of me as a child having a bath. Baths are my favorite thing, like ever. So I only have a shower once a week when I wash my hair. I only wash my hair once a week. And every other night I have a bath. Even if I'm in the bath for 5 minutes, I will never have a shower apart from when I'm washing my hair, because for me, a bath physically as well as mentally just calms me. It relaxes me. It just allows me to, and I know a lot of it will be to do with my childhood as well, but I just love feeling surrounded by this warmth. I just love
It's like a
that.
hug.
Yeah, I love that. And for me, so I deliberately today, before this interview, I did a Facebook Live interview with a company. And before that, I was doing some emails. So I haven't had my bath yet, because my bath is my way of being able to relax entirely. So one thing I do every day, no matter what, is I have a bath. And with bubbles. So I'll always have a bubble bath. That's really important for me. And it makes such a difference. If I don't have that time, even sometimes, no matter how busy I am, if I'm so busy and I have to have a bath and I haven't seen my husband yet, he will sit outside the bathroom and talk to me so that I can have a bath. So he knows the importance of this bath. It's non-negotiable. So that is one thing. Another thing is I always make sure that I take water with me everywhere. So again, my husband calls me the hydration police. Like no matter where we go, I'll always drink water. Like I've got water with me now. I have a thing about making sure that we use so much energy all the time to think and just function. And if we get to the point of being thirsty, I always think that we're depriving ourselves of something really basic that our brain needs, let alone our body. So water is a big thing for me, drinking water and having water around me that I can use. A lot of the time I'll have lemon water or I'll put fruit in my water, but water is really important. Something else that I do, I'm really big on, which is really, since I started my business actually, crystals are now a big aspect of my life. So I have these are my favorites, but at the moment I have tourmaline, which stays with me everywhere when I'm in my office, and I have the most amazing clear quartz, like this huge, it's just amazing. So they're probably the three things that are non-negotiable for me now. If I'm going anywhere, I'll take crystals with me in my bag, even if they're tiny. I have to have a bath every night. And I always make sure that I have water with me wherever I go.
I love that. I'm writing them down because I'm like, non-negotiables. Bath, totally agree. I don't take them every day, so I probably should because I like think about it, and I always feel good afterwards, but I end up syncing it to my cycle when my body needs it the most, which essentially like isn't the best because you don't ever want your body to be at that breaking point of when you like are desperate for it. So I really can take a note from your page of even just like 5 minutes. I love the bubbles. I like to use Epsom salt baths in mine. Let's just detox the skin and just kind of like when the water goes down the drain, it's like your stress and your worries go with it. A crystal conversation I think is something we should have later on. I know like kind of about them, but not nearly as much. And I follow some girls on Instagram that do like the goddess bath where they have the crystals either like surrounding them or in it. So I've been like trying to like understand that as well. So we're going to put a pin in that one because I'll definitely want to learn more. And water for sure. Like I can tell you drink a lot of water because your skin is like glowing. So like you have a glow like on your cheeks, and it's like that hydration is so key, I think, for everything that we do.
Sure. I get that a lot as well. I don't moisturize. I should, but my skincare routine is definitely something left to be desired. But because I drink so much water, that definitely helps. Like, and I notice a difference when I don't drink enough water. I just feel so much more like dry and just my skin definitely notices it more than anything. So yeah, for sure that's a non-negotiable.
Well, I think you moisturize from the inside out. Like clear skin starts from within. So like, yeah, as long as your insides are like hydrated and like you're staying away from food that might be causing your body too much inflammation, like your skin will just be glowing. So you can just totally tell that your insides are working.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah. Like I get so obsessed with women's skin because like I actually got into hormones because I wanted to fix my own acne. I had got off the pill and my skin started breaking out again. And I'm like, what is going on? So I had to like, you have to look at the food, like what is it that I'm eating that's causing this inflammation? And then I definitely had like hormonal acne that would come and go with my cycle. So it's just like, okay, this is just an opportunity to realize that something inside is not essentially working for me and I need to pay attention to that. So I love that you just naturally have clear skin by focusing on like water and health.
Yeah, so important.
So what else do you do to stay healthy? Like, do you have favorite workouts, favorite foods? You just shared some of your self-care. So I'd love to dive into like, I don't know, what your go-to is to just like work things out physically and what you eat to stay on top of your game.
Yeah. So my job before the business, I was a PE teacher. So I was very active all the time, but I didn't play sports in my free time. So one thing for me, my personality type, I don't enjoy team competition.
Okay.
I used to as a kid, but I find the pressure of having to be doing really well in a team and all of that now, it doesn't make me happy. I'd find that more stressful than enjoyable. So any kind of exercise I do now is on my own. I much prefer, because my job is very extroverted,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm exercising, I like to be introverted. I like to bring that focus back to me and allow myself to do what's right for me. So now a lot of my exercise is around, I went through a stage of running marathons, and I did a lot of weight training. So I've done all kinds of exercises, but really for me, I know what my body's capable of and what I can do physically, but actually now a lot of my exercise is low impact. I do a lot more low impact, things like walking, stretching, meditating. My self-care routine and my exercising is definitely more around nature. I love going for long walks in nature. And for me, I see my food as my biggest source of goodness. So before I would exercise to stay fit, stay healthy, potentially get more toned, get more muscle. And I just found actually I was focusing on the wrong things, and it wasn't sustainable for me. I couldn't maintain that. So I naturally have a quick metabolism, but in terms of being really toned and, looking great in a bikini, I found that really hard to maintain. So now I would rather have an outward body that makes me happy all year than have these kind of spikes in my exercise. So I do a lot more low impact, but my food, we don't eat red meat. I eat a lot of chicken and fish. Not because I don't want to, I just don't like meat on the bone. I never have. So I don't really eat any kind of heavy meats like pork and lamb and beef. I never have though. I've never liked them. So that's something that I don't do. And we also eat a lot of vegetarian food. We don't have gluten. So again, a choice. So I'm not intolerant, but we have a lot of gluten free. I don't eat bread or pasta very rarely. And again, these are all just things that naturally, for me and my energy, work best. Like if I'm really honest, tonight I'm really hungry, and it's going to be about 8:00 p.m. for me by the time we finish. So I'm very unlikely to cook a really nutritious meal. So I might have like a chicken kebab, which is like chicken salad, because I want to. But then the majority of the time we do eat I always cook home cooked foods, but I focus more on my intuition, kind of what I want to eat. Two things we always eat though, which definitely makes a difference, is every meal has spinach, whether it's boiled or pan fried. Every meal has spinach in, and every meal has red peppers and onions. Okay. So if you have like a chili, vegetarian chili, or some kind of bolognese, any kind of like chicken, we always have tomatoes, peppers and onions and spinach. Weirdly. So it just what works for me. But I know plenty of people that are vegan or vegetarian or pescatarian or gluten-free. And I think it's just, you have to find what works for your body. And I used to experience IBS really badly. So I started to just become more in tune with what I was eating and when I was eating. So that's really important for me.
I love that you have allowed your body to guide you to that space. I actually help a lot of women with that, because I feel like, we compare ourselves a lot to like what other people do. And we're just like, okay, well, vegetarian worked for her. She was able to lose all this weight. I know the big thing now is like keto or, gluten-free, dairy-free, all these things. And for you to just be like, no, I'm gravitating towards these foods because they make me feel good. And then like, as long as we keep moving away from the foods that don't feel good, or I like to call them like stealing our energy. Yeah. And like bread for me certainly does that. I have a sensitivity to gluten, so I can't really, my body just doesn't recognize it. But it's just like fascinating when you can identify what those are and then just keep moving forward to what gives you energy. And I think like, for me, I just wish more people, more women knew that, or would just trust their bodies, that it's guiding them to what they need. So I absolutely love hearing the fact that you already do that in your life, and it's just, yeah, it makes you feel so good. So I also love that you put in spinach and then onions and peppers in there. So like I definitely try to put like onions in everything, which is like weird, and my fiance hates them. So he'll like pick them out, or I have to like make like half of, you know, the dish on this side to then be able to add the onions, and then his side is like separate. But
Love onions.
yeah, I know, they're so good. So then what do you wish more women understood about their bodies?
I think the biggest thing that so many women worry so much about is this need to be a certain way, and I mean physicality as well as mentally. Let's just be honest, there is a lot of media and a lot of things online and everywhere you look that makes you focus on all of the things wrong with yourself. Like that's everywhere, you know, we can't get away from that. You know, let's use this cream to get rid of stretch marks, let's use this to get rid of wrinkles, let's buy this dye to change our hair, let's do all of these things, let's have this supplement for longer eyelashes. You know, there's so many things focusing on the flaws and how you can fix them, rather than changing the way we see ourselves. So for example, in clothes, everyone always looks better, you know, when we look from the outside, because of course you can dress to your body shape and things like that. But when you're then on your own naked, or you're going on holiday, everyone then panics, you know, they don't look this certain way. Now, I think the biggest thing that I would like any woman to think about is, we aren't all supposed to look the same, and we are also not going to have the same body types, shapes, or struggles. So you could find someone that you look at and think they have the most perfect body, and they will look at someone else and see they have the most perfect body. So I think less focus on what everyone else looks like to you, and more focus on what you look like to yourself. So for me, for example, now I don't really exercise that much, because it doesn't give me the boost that it used to when I was 18, 19. And I'm happier as an individual, but there are still, like now I've been sat for so long and I'm leaning over a tiny bit. I've got like a bit of a sweaty roll because I've been leaning forward. But I think, do you know what? That is human nature. Like no matter what you do, and no matter how everyone else perceives you, I'm happy with my sweaty roll, because it means that I don't have to go to the gym every day for 2 hours to get rid of that, to have one meal and it come back. Everyone is different. I'm not saying that this is right for you, but what I am saying is you need to sit with your own body and sit with yourself and say, what would make me happier? You are never going to have another body. That's not going to happen. And the longer you spend tormenting yourself and punishing yourself for not being another way, the longer you are going to spend unhappy and unsatisfied. Now, of course, there is a difference between how you look and your health. If you want to change certain routines, change certain foods, or change certain mindsets to become healthier, then that's great. We're looking at abundance and you're evolving and you're growing your body. But if you're focusing on punishing your body to get somewhere, that will only come back on you, because exactly like what you do, your hormones, there will always be times in the month, in your cycle, everything in your emotions where you need to close off, and times where you need to open up. There are times you need to rest. There are times you need to have energy. So instead of worrying so much about pushing through and trying to be and have things that your body aren't meant to have, focus on what you can do to embrace your body and actually embrace your health, your mental health and your physical health. What would give you less stress? What would make you feel happier? What would make you feel more confident? What would make you feel calmer? If the answer to that question is not dieting, exercising, worrying about everyone else, if those aren't the answers, then you need to steer away from these habits and focus on more of the things that you know do make you feel happier, calmer, more fulfilled. That would be my biggest, which is a very long-winded answer, but that would be my biggest piece of advice to any woman. It's not so much about what everyone else is doing or what everyone else looks like or feels like or has. It's about what is right in your life, in your routines, in your circumstances, in your time frame, in your relationships, in your body, and bring it back to your bubble, because everyone else's bubble is completely different. And the longer you carry on bursting your own, the longer you carry on not protecting yourself. And I think that's really important.
I absolutely love that. And then just, I mean, yeah, if we can just pay attention to what's in here and what our bodies are telling us. I mean, I can just tell that all the work you've done on yourself has brought you to this space where you trust your intuition, you trust yourself, you trust that your body is going to bring you to where you need to be, and you show up and listen. And like, I can just tell that even just from like your exercise, your food. And I think like our world needs more of that for sure, because there's just so many, every twist and turn we have in life, there's something essentially giving us the message that something's wrong with us. And I mean, do you think a lot of it is self-perceived? Like, I don't really hear people telling me that something is wrong with me. It might just be in the marketing, but it's more like self-perceived.
It is, for sure. And I was just thinking actually about everything that you do and what you stand for. And this is a prime example. No woman has the same period as another woman.
Mm-hmm.
But because we don't talk about that, that doesn't really seem to be the issue. So whether you have a 3-day cycle, a 3-day bleed, 5-day bleed, a 7-day bleed, whether it's heavy, whether it's light, whether you use tampons, whether you use pads, whether you use the pill, whether you use the coil, whether you use natural, whether you use hormone, no one's talking about that. And that's okay, because we all have a period. So it's almost like it's okay to be a woman in this aspect, but then when it comes to we all have boobs, oh, but mine are smaller, mine are bigger, mine aren't firm, I've had children, this happens. And you think, hang on a minute, it's not all about what you see on the outside, because on the inside, we're not the same either. We don't all go to the toilet at the same time every day. We don't all drink the same, you know, everything about a female, your hormones, not everyone has the exact same progesterone in their body. Not everyone has the exact same, it just doesn't work that way. But we don't question that and think, oh my God, you know, her over there, she's got extra progesterone. No one talks about that. So it's definitely self-perceived, and it's take a look and say to yourself, hang on, everything about me is how it should be in my body, and everything inside me you can't control. You have no idea what's inside your body, and you allow that to happen and you embrace that. But on the outside, we have this level of not feeling adequate because of someone else next door or in a magazine. So just remind yourself, if you take anything from this conversation, no woman has the same period as another woman, and that's okay. So that is fine. If your body looks different to someone else, your mindset, your hair, anything, you have to focus on what works for your body in your life. So I definitely think it's self-perceived, 100%.
Right. And then we just kind of like, that's why I think our self-talk too is so important, because like I find myself, I have to consciously talk to myself, and even just how our hormones fluctuate. So like we have a part in our cycle where serotonin, one of our feel-good hormones, dips right before we get our period. And it actually can lead us into body dysmorphia, where you look in the mirror and you actually see yourself as different or bigger than how you might have looked and saw yourself like a week prior. And so for me, like, I just wonder, like, is that why so many women have poor self-esteem? Or, you know, is that dip driving so much of our efforts for the entire month because we're trying to fix ourselves? And it's hard because, like, I have absolutely experienced that. And every time I talk to a client or a friend, like, we actually get emotional because we're like, well, it still happens. It's just essentially becoming aware. And I have to look at myself and being like, no, you didn't just all of a sudden gain 20 pounds. Like, your body's just looking different right now, and like nothing has changed. And it's a lot of like awareness and this sense of this certain level of consciousness that we have to have within ourselves to just
Absolutely.
remind ourselves like you're doing just fine. Like everything's fine. And as long as you're listening to your body, taking care of yourself, you know, absolutely taking care of your mental, emotional, physical health. It's just so interesting because nobody talks about that, and everyone just thinks it's normal for women to feel insecure about their bodies, or you know, and then companies are essentially are sucking that in and trying to sell us things that we then don't need. And we definitely have to separate ourselves and just like consciously be aware of like whether that's true or not for us. Yeah. So that is just, I love everything you've had to say about that, and definitely thank you for sharing that with us, because it's just, I'm like feeling so inspired and uplifted right now. So so do you want to tell us more about the program that you have going on and the Sunshine Moments? I am definitely going to be signing up for this, so I want to hear a little bit more about what this entails.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this. So obviously the world is full of days when you feel meh and you just don't love life. And someone actually said to me a few months ago, which inspired this, they said, Sam, you cannot be this happy every day. And I said, no, I'm not. Like, I'm only human. And they said, but okay, so when everything does go wrong, how do you pick yourself back up? When you have, how can you be happy all the time in a day when it's grey? And I thought, do you know what, actually, that's so true. Some people every single Monday dread the week and just think they're commuting again, or they have another week at work. And it's just, you know, let's be honest, not everyone has sunshine and rainbows in their life. And I thought to myself, it's about, so I decided I wanted to create the Sunshine Moments, which is I send an email every Monday and it has a task or a phrase, an affirmation, a mindset tip, something. So it's no more than like 3 sentences that you can read every single Monday, and it just gives you a slice of sunshine. So this Monday I said, you know what, actually I haven't had a good day today, and this is what I did to make me feel better. Go and try that. And everyone was like, that's such a good idea. It's such a good start to the week. So I just wanted to create something that allowed people to actually take 1 minute to have a slice of sunshine, even on the greyest day. So that is my email, Sunshine Moments. And the other thing I'm doing is I'm sort of stepping out in my business as well. And, you know, I always want to challenge myself and play bigger. So I have started a YouTube channel, which, you know, on top of everything else I'm doing, I just think, how have I got time to do it all? But I've hired a YouTube manager because it's just not, I can't do it all. But it's called Happy Mind TV, and every episode is less than 15 minutes. And it's focused on bringing happiness and mindset together so that you leave feeling happier and more enriched, ready to take on the day. So they're the 2 kind of biggest platforms I'm trying to encourage women to go to, just to have this slice of happiness back in their life and empowerment, and just give them that boost.
That is awesome. So I will definitely share the how to sign up for the Sunshine Moments and then your new YouTube channel in the description below. And then where can we find you online? So what's your Instagram handle, your website?
Everything's really easy. It's all A Happy Mind. So my Facebook group is A Happy Mind. My website is ahappymind.co.uk. And my Instagram is A Happy Mind. My podcast is A Happy Mind. Everything is A Happy Mind.
Yes. Yeah, so when in doubt, type in A Happy Mind, and then there Sam will be. In her beautiful touches of yellow, which I was telling her beforehand, absolutely fell in love with. I love just like the little pops. Yeah, it's just so cheery, and I just love that you have incorporated that into your business too. I think it's so well branded, and just I just love when women play with color and just like kind of get playful too online and just really share the happy positivity, but then also like how you can move forward in your life when things aren't necessarily going right, or how can we learn from this experience versus just, you know, having those moments of we cry it out, but we're not going to stay there. Like we have to get back up and keep moving forward. And you shared so many great tips with us. I definitely am going to be doing your non-negotiables. I have crystals. I need to carry them around with me and then educate myself more on like which ones do certain things, because I know that's like a certain kind of energy.
and you need different ones based on your cycle as well. So we can talk
Ooh.
about that.
Okay, yeah, I see a whole other episode of us talking more about this. But thank you so much for joining us today, Sam, and I'm just so excited to share your work as well and for people to just be able to consume everything that you have working on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, I will, we'll talk soon.